Queen Anne. Queen Anne ruled England and Scotland from 1702 to 1714. Her reign was marked by the major war, the War of the Spanish Succession, which pitted Britain in a war against both France and Spain. She oversaw the influential Act, the Act of Union, in 1707, which united England and Scotland into a single kingdom, Great Britain. The Stuarts who came from Scotland became rulers of England in 1603, when James IV of Scotland succeeded the throne of England as James I. Until the Act of Union, though, England and Scotland were separate kingdoms who shared a joint king or queen.
I am so confused!
Queen Anne was the last Stuart monarch in British history, but not without a lack of trying. She was pregnant 17 times. Sadly, none of her children survived infancy. So from here on out, the British royal family will have a distinctly German flavour. The throne passed to Anne's Protestant cousin, the Elector of Hanover, who became George I. George I. One of the major challenges he faced were the Jacobite uprisings, a group in Scotland who aimed to restore the Stuart monarchy. George was born and raised in Hanover, or modern Germany, which meant he didn't speak a word of English. His language barrier between himself and his subjects was a hindrance, as it's already quite complex to manage a kingdom knowing the language. This factor reinforced his reliance on ministers, which in turn helped shape the development of the cabinet system in Parliament. It was in this period that Sir Robert Walpole became the first de facto Prime Minister of Great Britain, though the title of Prime Minister was not officially used. George II. George II succeeded his father. Unlike his father, George II was fluent in English, which helped him better navigate and manage his role within the British monarchy. His reign saw several crucial military conflicts, notably the War of the Austrian Succession and the 7 Years' War. The latter marked the expansion of the British Empire, particularly in India and North America, setting the stage for Britain to become a global superpower. In addition, a conflict happened on British soil, the Jacobite Rebellion in 1745. Charles Edward Stuart rapidly gained support when he captured Edinburgh. His army marched into England, reaching as far as Derby, but then retreated back to Scotland due to a lack of English support. Although the Jacobites had initial success, they were ultimately defeated after the Battle of Culloden. What followed was the dismantlement of the clan system and the traditional Gaelic culture of the Highlands. Homes and entire villages were burnt, lands were confiscated, arrests and executions. The Jacobite cause was completely destroyed. George III. He's often remembered for two things: his loss of the American colonies and his intense episodes of mental illness. Yet he witnessed the unification of Britain and Ireland, as well as the major conflict, the Napoleonic Wars. The British played a key role in the defeat of Napoleon, particularly through naval victories, which wouldn't have been possible without the Industrial Revolution. Britain underwent significant changes with the Industrial Revolution. There was major advancements in technology, manufacturing and transportation, as well as social and economic upheavals. George IV. George IV's reign marked a mix of cultural flourishing and political strife. He was a patron of the arts, an avid collector. Notably, the king ordered John Nash to convert a relatively insignificant house into a great palace, Buckingham Palace. Despite this, the king was relatively unpopular, mainly because of his extravagant lifestyle, attempts to manipulate politics, his personal character, and his lack of dignity. For example, he had a troubled relationship with his wife to the point where he tried to remove her from his coronation, which further ruined his public image. William IV. William was relatively popular. He was known as the Sailor King due to his early career in the Royal Navy. He had a down-to-earth manner, was straightforward, and had a willingness to engage with his subjects. His short reign saw the Reform Act, as well as the Slavery Abolition Act. This resulted in the gradual abolition of slavery in most parts of the British Empire and allowed the middle-class man to vote. Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria not only shaped British but also world history. She was queen from 1837 to 1901 and had 9 children. All of these children were married into various royal families across Europe, forming important alliances and shaping the diplomacy and geopolitics of the time. Victoria presided over the height of the British Empire, with Britain holding sway over a vast territory across the globe. This continued expansion of the empire fueled a sense of pride and patriotism among British people. Queen Victoria's reign gave rise to the Victorian era, characterised by strict social norms, moral values, and cultural achievements. There were significant developments in literature, art, architecture, and science, with notable figures such as Charles Dickens, Charles Barry, and Charles Darwin. Edward VII. Edward's reign, while short, plays a significant role in the development of British foreign policy. He most notably strengthened ties with France, which marked an end to the centuries-long rivalry between the two nations. He also popularised many fashion styles of the time, including modern dinner jackets, the tuxedo, and this style of hat. George V. The most defining event of George V's reign was World War I. Like all nations, the war had a dramatic impact on society, the economy, and politics. The royal family sought to separate themselves from their German heritage, and it was during this time they adapted the name the House of Windsor. George's reign also marked economic turmoil during the Great Depression of the 1930s. The Great Depression led to widespread unemployment, poverty, and social unrest. Unlike his predecessors, the king maintained a relatively modest lifestyle and was known for a sense of duty and public service. Edward VIII. Edward VIII's reign was one of the shortest in British history, as he was king for less than 1 year. He took the throne in January 1936, but decided to abdicate in December of the same year. The reason for his abdication was his desire to marry an American, twice divorcee. This was very controversial for several reasons, but it was primarily rooted in the social and religious norms of the time. George VI. George VI is perhaps best remembered for his leadership during World War II. Despite the United Kingdom's initial unpreparedness for the war, the king and his wife became symbols of resistance. They famously refused to leave London during the Blitz, even after Buckingham Palace was heavily bombed. He also oversaw Britain's recovery from the conflict and its gradual transition from an imperial power to a modern state. Elizabeth II. Elizabeth II was the longest reigning monarch in British history. Her reign saw immense changes both within the United Kingdom and globally. She navigated through the decolonisation of the empire, guiding the transition to a commonwealth of nations. She was the first monarch to have a coronation broadcast on the television, reaching millions of people worldwide, which marked a new era of public engagement with the royal family through media. She was the first monarch to have her portrait appear on the currency. She was known for her love of animals, having over 30 corgis throughout her reign. But she also received various exotic animals as gifts from world leaders. All of these were placed in the care of London Zoo. Charles III. Charles III is the current monarch of the United Kingdom. He was the first British heir apparent to earn a university degree, graduating from the University of Cambridge with a degree in anthropology, archaeology, and history. The king has also been a vocal advocate for environmental issues, including climate change, sustainable agriculture, and conservation, and he continues to raise awareness about the impact of human activities on the planet. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and cheers. See you next time.